I will tell you God's truth. God's truth about myself.
Hello and welcome to What the Flick. I am Christy, this is Alonso, this is Ben. I had to look at you for a second, remember who you are. And you are... Ben went and saw Great Gatsby super late last night because he is dedicated to his craft. And so he's going to describe to us what this is about. Because it's been a long time since high school.
It has, yeah. So really, I got to describe the Great Gatsby?
Please,
yeah.
In 6 words or less.
This Fitzgerald-like character, Nick Carraway. It's the 1920s in New York. He's making money on the bond market, and he's got a house out in Long Island. And he lives next to a strange, mysterious man who throws the best parties in the world. And it's a sort of metaphor for the boom of the 20s, and everybody's indulging and having sex with everybody else, and they love jazz and rap.
Jay-Z was huge back
Jay-Z
then.
was huge in New York in the 20s.
All the jitterbuggers love dubstep.
But the mystery is, who is this Gatsby guy, and what makes him so interesting? And in the end, was he really all that interesting in the first place?
I am the son of some very wealthy people. Sadly, they're all dead now. I lived in all the capitals of Europe, collecting jewels, hunting big game, painting a little. Major J. Gatsby for valor extraordinary. That's right.
So we should mention this is in 3D.
Boy, howdy.
The way we all remembered it in 10th grade English class, in 3D. This is a very Baz Luhrmann film.
Why do you think it was in 3D? What do you think that was?
Because you can charge more for tickets.
16. I paid 16.
I think Baz Luhrmann probably would have loved to have made everything in 3D given the opportunity.
But you know, when you look at that,
he'd do it in smell-o-vision too, if he could.
It's very him to employ massively theatrical 3D, but I look back at something like Moulin Rouge, and that felt more immediate and more effective and more tactile to me than this did in 3D, which it just felt hollow and shiny and tinny, and like the 3D accentuates how artificial everything is.
Yeah, I tended to forget that it was in 3D, and then when I noticed it was in 3D, it was to like notice, oh well, this isn't interesting in 3D. You know, like it wasn't. It's not enhancing things at all.
Does this do damage to non-action movies being in 3D?
I don't know. Hugo was really great. Hugo was really beautiful, and from every step of the way in the production within the vision.
That's a cartoon, right?
No. But in terms of like using it from like in the beginning, from the very first moments of production, you know, and versus a conversion.
Oh well, yeah.
And like this was shot in 3D.
I mean, look, Pina, I think, is an amazing. You know, that dance documentary 3D is breathtaking. But I think
that's a movie about sort of
movement, and I think we're still sort of uncovering what you can do with 3D. I mean, Life of Pi is a dramatic movie in 3D, and I used it really well. That was probably the best part of that movie was the visuals. But anyway, back to Gatsby. I'm a Baz Luhrmann defender for the most part. I think his movies up till now have worked. I even will go out on a limb and say that like Australia has a kind of hokey old movie charm to it that works. It's the kind of thing like that you would see on TCM. You know, you can forgive it a lot. You know?
Australia was one of the first things I saw when I was doing at the movies, or at least I remember it as being early in that process. And I feel like I felt this enormous pressure to hate it.
Why?
Because that's what everybody was doing. You know, like, and I thought, well, I sort of like that. That was all right. You know, that was fun. I mean, it wasn't great, and I don't remember one thing about it. But then I was into it. So I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah, but so the thing about what I figured out with this movie is that Luhrmann's stuff works best on a movie on a story that is either paper thin, like Moulin Rouge or Australia, or on something like Romeo and Juliet, where it's so ingrained and it's been a musical, it's been done with furniture. You can do whatever you want with West Side Story. So you can, or with Romeo and Juliet, so you can moosh all over it. Great Gatsby, though, it feels like it's getting in the way of the story. It feels like there's an interesting story. It's an immortal novel, and this movie is just too busy with the razzmatazz to just tell the damn story.
It doesn't get what the point of the book is. It doesn't get the statement it's making on society and on like the tragedy of the American dream and all that. It's about the party. It doesn't get that there is a loneliness and a loss here at all.
I thought that whether it was all that stuff or whether it was just how it ended up, but I felt like at the end we take these sort of characters from this immortal novel and make every single one of them seem super ordinary. Like, I felt like there was nothing special about anybody in that movie.
I think that's part of the point, though. I think that's part of the point. Like, Daisy's meant to be kind of empty and ethereal and elusive. And I think that Nick Carraway is meant to be our conduit, so he's not meant to have a whole lot of personality.
But there was nothing. I mean, talk about at the end when there's when Gatsby becomes the Great Gatsby. In Carraway's book, but there's nothing great about him at any point there was nothing to me great about it.
He's sort of reduced to being kind of just a climber here,
Right.
you know, and
A climber who lost his girl.
Yeah, and the whole Nick Carraway thing, I mean, they restructure the novel to where now he's in a sanitarium and he's telling the story to a doctor, and the doctor's like, you should write it down. And so then it becomes that, again, Life of Pi, where it's like, and then what happened, you know? Which doesn't help at all.
It's just that the prose doesn't translate all that well to the screen, right?
No,
Reading it is what makes it so brilliant.
Despite the fact that they will put the prose on the screen.
Including the most famous line of the whole book. You see it actually typed out.
Yeah, but some of the stuff that's there seemed like I was like, ugh. You know, like who didn't tell Fitzgerald, Scott, buddy, you can do better. You know, but in the context of the book, of course, it makes sense. But the little things picked out of there, again, to me, all of a sudden seem pretty hokey.
And clunky.
The other thing is that, like,
better word.
because, the other thing about Lorman's previous movies is they were, to use a word you like, they were tactile in terms of, Australia shot on location, Moulin Rouge, the sound stages were at least representing things like nightclubs or apartments or whatever, so they felt lived in. This movie, it's almost like being in Tron Legacy or something. Like I felt like you could have told me that they shot this entire thing in front of green screens, and I would believe it.
It is cartoony.
Because there's this airless quality about it. Somebody points out that even the yellow roadster looks like the taxi cab from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
That's really funny.
And so there's a quality of like this isn't even really happening that I think undermines an actual human story that's being told
But
here.
the clothes are beautiful. Can I say that everything that Carey Mulligan wears is just like gorgeous and beautifully detailed.
Well, yeah, Catherine Martin, who's Lorman's wife, is an extraordinary costume designer, and
She did the production design
Yes.
also?
yes.
Yeah. No, it looks
Dresses
great.
are very pretty.
Yeah, everything looks great. Everything looks like you imagine the sort of the best painting of 1922 ever could have looked. I mean, it's
And
perfect.
the menswear is now on sale at Brooks Brothers.
Right, but I think that was part of the, again, sort of
It's a critique, not a celebration.
Right, and you say that it doesn't, that nothing, everything to me felt flat, and so the characters ultimately felt flat too. And I know the point of so many of these characters is that they're not special, and in the end, Daisy, obviously for people who've read the book, know that Daisy doesn't do what you hope Daisy would do. But again, they needed to be big, and I didn't feel like anybody was big. Everybody was overshadowed by a giant guy jumping up and down saying, look at the clothes, look at the set, would you look at this?
All the champagne they're
Right,
drinking.
exactly, look at the singer's hair, he's crazy, and his little wispy mustache, and I don't know, and it turns out I do not give a shit about that, and I don't think most, at all. I'm unimpressed if you don't make those characters rich and meaningful in some way.
Really fast, could mention the totally anachronistic Jay-Z soundtrack. I'm fine with it because it's what Baz Luhrmann does.
I stopped
okay with
noticing it. Like after the first, 21st century song that played, it just became wallpaper. It wasn't like Moulin Rouge, where each time they unveil something like a Virgin or Roxanne, it was like, oh, okay, because they were finding in different contexts for this stuff. In this movie, it's just background, it's just wallpaper. So whether they're jitterbugging to it in a speakeasy or it's playing at Gatsby's party, it's just like somebody's mixtape.
And in Moulin Rouge, they rearrange them and reinterpret them in a way that makes them fresh.
Right, but these are new songs, so we don't have a context for them.
I think Jason Clarke deserves some credit for the disparity of roles.
Between
for doing
this
the role
and
he
Zero
does
Dark
right, between this and Zero Dark 30 within a period of 6
And
months.
I did like what the woman who played Jordan Baker.
Oh no, what's her name?
Palicki.
Elizabeth Debicki.
Yes.
Elizabeth Debicki. She's the one lead character that felt like a human being to me.
I agree,
It
totally.
felt like she belonged in that era.
Yeah.
Too. Did Leo seem weirdly kind of creepy and stalky and like a whiny adolescent who has
With
heartbroken?
marshmallow mouth.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a bizarre performance.
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't think he. But I don't think anybody brought anything sort of that made it in any way memorable. And of who characters were supposed to be so memorable. I liked it better than you guys did because overall I just got through it and I thought, well, that was all right.
You were happy to be out of the house.
Also, I got to be honest. I don't. Can you remember the novel well? Do you remember things?
I read it again. I read it in high school. I read it again when I was like 23. So it's been a while.
I read it as an adult because I for some reason, my high school class didn't read it, and I liked it. I think it stayed with me.
No, so I didn't remember parts of it, so like I was, I felt moderately fresh.
Oh.
Like there was a moment where I'm like, what happened to the end of this?
What's the green light about?
Yeah, what's going on with that? Yeah.
So you know what?
I gave it a 4.5.
I'm 3.2.
3.5 for effort, and God knows there's effort. But
There's a lot of effort. 3.7 overall. There's a big discrepancy, as you might imagine. Rotten Tomatoes, it's 51, but the audience is, 85.
It was lower than that for a while on Rotten Tomatoes. It was like in the 30s for a while. So,
Yeah.
right. Thanks. Bye.